Brought to you by Naturals2Go, the VIBEcast is your gateway to realizing your entrepreneurial dreams.
Hey folks, welcome to VIBEcast. Linda Ballesteros here. I am your host today, and we're going to have a great show today. We're talking to Laura and Ross Crandall, and they are relatively new to vending and have some very interesting stories that maybe you can even relate to. So, Laura, Ross, thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time carving some time out. I can see that you're sitting there with your inventory behind you. So you are definitely in the mood to talk about vending today, aren't you?
Always.
Always,
We
always.
nerd out about it quite a bit.
Before we get started on your story, tell me a little bit about your background. What were you in corporate? What was your history here? Ross, you want to get started here?
Sure. Yeah. So I was and still am actually in the corporate space at this point. I work in tech as like a digital strategist, and that's what I've been doing for many, many years at this point. Laura?
I also have a background in tech. I recently retired, but spent many years on the quality assurance side of technology and consulting. Um,
And so this recent retirement, did that have anything to do with launching your business?
and had all the things to do with well, and maybe not launching, I guess, but investing in. We started in 2022. I guess I'll let you speak to that a little more, but the retirement aspect was just last fall. And we've grown exponentially since then. So
Nice, nice. So Ross, I understand that you actually did a lot of the research, and when you were doing your due diligence. So tell me a little bit about that process.
Yeah, so it kind of started with us in our move to Texas. As you could tell with our accents, we're definitely not Texan by birth. But so when we were here, we kind of took the initiative to kind of find something that was more ours and that we would have control over. And so I just started to kind of started my journey online of like I was actually on YouTube watching a lot of different videos of like these, they call them side hustles,
Yes.
right? Or passive income jobs, etc. And I was like, well, this seems interesting. And so that's what really kind of started my journey. And vending was one of those jobs that came up rather frequently. So that's really how the seed was planted. And so from that point, it was just really kind of trying to understand what is this vending? My experience, I think like most people is, you put in, well, as a kid, it's 50 cents for a can of soda, and it was like outside of some store or something, and kind of walked away. You're like, can you really make money with these things?
Right, right. And so Laura, when Ross came to you with the idea of vending, you probably jumped into it right away, didn't you?
I was very I was apprehensive for sure. I guess I would say I was a little anti-vending because it didn't feel like a natural fit for kind of my personal like values. I'm a person with dietary restrictions. I am pretty passionate about food equity, and it just didn't really seem like it sort of fit into that very well. Um, so I was reluctant at first for sure. One of the things that kind of got me over that, I guess, was the Naturals to Go. The ability to have like fully refrigerated machines that we could put fresh foods in was definitely the thing that kind of hooked me, and kind of opened my mind to it a little bit more.
And Laura, you said that you have dietary restrictions, and um, I appreciate the fact that that didn't stop you because there's so many people out there that have those dietary restrictions and they can't stop by a vending machine. So do you feel like you're maybe giving back a little bit to those who may have those same restrictions that you have and give them some options.
Yeah, I hope that's true. I talk a lot with people at locations. I have nerded out over hard-boiled eggs. Because I actually just a few months ago found that while we were traveling, that was like one of my go-to things. And they're, kind of available, not so much in vending machines, but we found that we could source them and they've actually been selling quite well since then. And it's interesting because people notice that stuff. And especially in locations where it is kind of a consistent, customer base where it's like in a break room setting or something like that. It matters to people that are there to have those options.
And for you to take that information of what they're needing, take those suggestions, and you're able to customize
Mhm.
the offerings in that machine just for them. It has to mean something to them. That's great customer service, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think so. I actually just had a recent conversation with someone I was introduced to on LinkedIn, and I was mentioned, I said, "None of our machines have the exact same inventory in them," and that blew his mind. You know? He's like, "I never thought of that," and I was like, "Yeah," and we look at sales data, we really track our sales data, and I'm kinda constantly pushing stuff around now and trying new things, and I kinda believe in that fail fast model, we'll buy a small quantity of something and see if it moves, and if get feedback from folks, and it's been a
Yeah.
fun way to keep things interesting on our side and then keep customers kinda looking at the machine even if it is sitting in front of them a day to day. So,
Yeah, because something new may be in the machine this week.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think
So
that's been key to a lot of growth too, is like having the product selection is constantly evolving, constantly changing, and Laura's always coming back and like, hey, I have this idea. I'm gonna marry this, and it'll be a package, and so she gets really creative, and so it's really great to get people's reactions from that too, so.
absolutely. And that is part of that what you were describing earlier, Ross, that this you have control over that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's not dictated what you place in the machine. You have total control over your business, not just what you put in the machines, but where you place the machines as well.
Mhm.
Talk to me a little bit about the process of locating. Laura, did you end up locating some of the machines?
A lot. Yeah, we've been through a series of phases, with locating. You kinda started things out.
Yeah, so we took advantage of the Naturals2Go locating program when we first
Mhm.
started. So with our first batch of machines, that's what we did, and we actually leveraged a combination of the locating services along with. We were really keen to learn how to locate early into that process, so that we weren't also like I didn't want to be wholly reliant on somebody else. So I took advantage of developing this skill, and so through a combination of Naturals2Go locating services, we also actually recruited my daughter when she was here over winter break. Tell me like, hey, here's some like education on locating. I want you to like drive around. I'll give you 500 bucks per every machine you place. And she placed some machines right away.
She
And
did 3.
yeah, so she got the money on the side, and she got to do that. And then Laura has been doing a lot of the locating since to grow the business.
Yeah, so I after retirement, we had a whole plan on, kind of numbers we wanted to achieve in terms of growth. And um, I had the opportunity to go to the Hermitage training on growth. And that was just really kind of launched me into I literally retired on Friday and I was in Hermitage on Saturday. And so that was just a really exciting to kind of get some ideas and talk to other operators, tour the facility there um and we have done the marketing bags with treats in them, show up with a flyer and some snacks and talk to folks, and it's been a really fun way to kind of be out into the community and start those conversations with people. And It's been pretty
Mhm.
successful, like,
Mhm.
we've been growing.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I know, Ross, you said that you would 50 cents in the machine, get a Coke, and you wonder, can anybody make money at that? So has that been a surprise for you that you can truly have a very financially stable business with vending machines?
Yeah, I mean, that was to me the thing that took the longest to really research and understand because when you're looking, you get lots of different variations, right? You've got people over here, they tend to focus in on, I've got 100 machines and each one of them I fill once a month and they make $200, right? And then the other ones are like, oh, they're making $2,000 per machine a month, right? And what really sealed the deal for me was like, I'm kind of a, I need to see it before I believe it type individual. And we actually bought a portion of our route from a previous Naturals2Go vendor who was moving out of our location and had a really good location that he didn't want to move those machines from. And so he actually sat down with me. I met with him at the location. He showed me the numbers, and I was like, I can't believe that you can have these types of numbers from vending. And he's like, well, do you want the machines? And that's really what sealed the deal for me was just to have that and to see that it is real. And since then, we have specific targets that we need to meet for a machine to be successful from our perspective, and the machines are meeting those, and a lot of them are exceeding kind of what our targets are. Not to say that we don't have pitfalls along the way. We have put machines in locations that seemed promising, haven't really worked out, and we've moved them. But that's the thing. It's like to me, the one thing I would say about vending, it's not necessarily as passive. Well, I guess let me take that back. It can be passive, but your success is going to be measured by how active you are in either, making sure that your locations are good, removing and finding new places for machines if they're underperforming. And then what I was saying about like redoing your product lineup constantly so that everything in there is fresh and exciting. But
It
yeah,
is a
now we are in
business.
a good stable space where, the income from the vending is, paying our mortgage, it's paying for its car, it's paying for itself. It paid for Laura to be able to retire, so it's been really great to see that.
Mhm. But it is a business.
Hmm.
So you have to treat it like a business. The more time you put into it, the more energy you put into it, then you're going to see that it's more successful, aren't you?
100%. In fact, a good kind of like story in relations to that is we had a location where again we were both working full time, right? So I couldn't really put all of my attention, but I was putting a lot of attention into vending. And so we had a location. I was like, hey, it's not doing what we want it to do. Probably gonna move it. We ended up not moving it, but around that time, Laura had also then become full-time into the vending. And she really spent the time and energy on that one location. And now it is a super profitable location. And that shows that while choosing your locations does matter, but also nurturing and growing that and giving the location time to expand and like understanding what your clients need is truly also part of that magic formula.
Yeah, and you want them to see you more than just that flash of the snack guy that's
Mm-hmm.
just running in, filling it up with chips and drinks and out. It is about building those relationships, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, when you look back on this, um, what are some of the things that you may have done a little bit differently if you had a chance to go back and redo it from the beginning? What was something that maybe you would change?
I think one of the things that probably would have changed is that I probably would have been more proactive earlier in to the on the locating side of it to really kind of like spearhead. I kind of felt, and this just I think might just be brainwashing within corporate, right? And you become a business owner or entrepreneur, is I felt like I needed Naturals to Go permission to do things at first. And so I would say it prohibited or it prevented me from, probably getting our business up and running faster because I was just the passive person waiting for the manager to like guide me, right? And so that's probably one thing that I would probably think differently on is just to become more involved earlier than waiting.
Yeah, and taking the reins, and if you've never been in business before, maybe you are a little hesitant in jumping in with both feet. Like I've said before, I was in corporate for 30 plus years, corporate banking, as a matter of fact. So wanting to know about asking about permission, I know all about
Yeah.
asking for permission here. But when I got out, I realized, oh, the phone is only going to ring if I do something. So it took a while to put that together and realize, hey, it is my business and I get to do what I want with this business. I can drive it in whatever direction. So, Laura, moving forward, where do you see you taking your vending business? What is your vision for maybe the next year?
Um, I think we're kind of at this pivotal point where we feel like what we've done since last fall has been just so I think more successful than we anticipated. Maybe, and in different ways. And things have certainly not been linear. They never are. So I think right now for me, I'm really focused on, you know, really nurturing the relationships we have. We just placed a machine last week based on a referral. So that's magic because it's like, oh, all I had to do was what I do. So that is really exciting. But continuing that process of, and when we first transition or when I first transitioned to full-time vending, it was like, okay, it was a bit grueling. We use that word a lot then. Where it was like, okay, we're putting together these marketing bags with treats and I'm going out and handing out as many as possible and having as many conversations as possible. And I feel like um we're at a point now where there's still that, but not in the same like kind of grueling tempo, I guess. Where it can be, okay, today's a prospecting day. And today, this location and this location and this location, I need to look at the sales data and assess what's happening in those machines. What can I change or move? So it feels a little bit more creative, I guess, in that I get to do a lot of different things. So more of that, I guess.
And I think you have to like we're at the point too where we're still trying to because we have like added to our inventory of machines so rapidly. We were in that just like this high growth. We're like, we need to, just grow, grow, grow. We're still now trying to like figure out like our processes and methodologies so that it doesn't become because it can easily get you out of control where it becomes all encompassing where like Laura's finds like especially in times when you've got life like we've got daughters who are going through life milestones, right? And then we have to juggle vending and business ownership and you just find yourself all consumed with just the business, right? And so it's just kind of like reintroducing ourselves to be like, okay, it's like this now. And so we need to then get our processes in place and then, okay, what is that next phase, that next iteration? And so it's important too to remember there are life is also happening alongside your vending, and it's important to stop and smell the roses of that life that you're living and just not be all consumed. Because one of the things that I think is hard for us now is vacations, right? So like we're at our machines every week. So who's there when we're not there? Recently we were we were out of town, and literally the day after we left, one of our machines went down. And we weren't there. Nobody, like, we couldn't fix it. And like, fortunately we have got great relationships. So people understand. They're like, yes, I realize you guys need to take time for yourself. But it still racks on you the whole time. All 4 days that we were gone, we're just like, need to get to that machine. I think Laura ended up getting back and went to the machine like at 2 a.m. Like, fortunately it's a 24/7 location that we could do that. But yeah, it's those types of things that we're trying to now figure out. And I would say like that's also a next step with us, is like we need to find somebody who's available so that we can go on a trip, that we can go on a vacation together. I travel a lot for work. Sometimes I get to bring my wife along. It'd be great for her to have those opportunities. So that is also a big challenge for us right now.
Yeah, and it's finding that rhythm,
Mm.
right? And the thing is that you get to set that rhythm. So you get to define what that rhythm is.
Mhm.
And in the beginning, you're exactly right. You have to run hard to make your business you have to get it off the ground. There's a lot that has to be done, but at some point you do have the opportunity to slow that pace down. And so one thing I did not ask you guys is how many machines did you start with, and how many do you have now?
Yeah, so our initial package was 10 machines.
Okay.
So we knew that we wanted to be, we knew that we were going to be serious about it, right? So I think if you're committing to 10 machines, that's, it's a lot of work, and we knew that it was going to be going into it. We currently now have 15 machines placed. We've also dabbled into coffee, which is an exciting adventure for us. And I think we have kind of an initial target to get to like 20 machines. And so that's kind of where we're growing into at this point. But those 5 machines came like fast and furious. And so, like I said, that was a significant, starting with 10 machines, you're increasing it, so dramatically by those 5 extra machines. That's a lot. So that's kind of where we're sitting right now.
Well, we're coming down to the end of the show here, and if there's somebody listening out there and they're wondering, is vending for me? Is it really a business that I should seriously consider? What kind of advice would y'all give them? Ross, what kind of advice would you give someone that's in that research process that you were in at one point?
I think the most valuable thing for me was I had that ability to talk to somebody who was doing it. And that's really what you need to do, because all of the YouTube videos and stuff out there, it's all, I would say, it's hard to gauge, right? Because what they show is really the happy side of it, right? There's going to be trials and tribulations. There's been moments when we were starting up that I was like, what did I get us into? Right? And it's just through, and like that perseverance and like believing, like there was a goal. I believed in something at one point, so we just need to get back to that. But I think talking to current vendors is really kind of the first thing that you need to do. You really need to understand, how much work is involved. Again, because I think it's marketed within the YouTube influencers as like, this is a passive side hustle. And you can do it as a passive side hustle, but you're going to be disappointed if you do it that way.
Yeah, very good advice. And Laura, what kind of advice would you give someone, knowing that you didn't have any vending experience, clearly, and now you are out in the community and making these connections? What kind of advice would you give someone?
The first thing that came to mind when you asked the question initially was like build your network, which sounds really generic, I guess, when I say it out loud. But it's the similar, parallel answer to what Ross said in terms of talk to folks. I mean, that's one thing that both of us really do. We have, in our corporate circles, non-corporate circles, LinkedIn, we're constantly kind of surrounding ourselves with, I guess, like-minded people, other operators, but people that are interested in vending, and don't be afraid to reach out, and don't be afraid to reach out to us, because we are, we're the people we'll carve out the hour, text me your question. We love that, because to me it feels like a part. I mean, one thing about leaving corporate life is that I had no coworkers anymore. No offense. Um, so I went from working from home, but I had, people I spoke with every day. And then being self-employed, that all sort of shifted very drastically, very quickly. So that's one other thing that I think, just finding that support system, whether it's operators, and then you also find that camaraderie within the community and your locations, and really building those relationships across the board in all those areas is just, I think, such an awesome part of vending, for one thing, but just also a really critical part to success. Nobody can do it alone.
Right, right. And the great thing about tapping into the small business community in your area is it's great to be able to have somebody to have a cup of coffee with, talk about some of these things, bounce ideas off of them, and just to know that other people, not even in vending, have had some of the very same struggles as a small business owner, but the rewards are so much greater as a small business owner. So again, I really appreciate you guys taking some time out. I'm glad y'all finally found Texas and moved here. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
thanks again, folks. I appreciate you being here. And y'all know that I always lead with a quote, and it's always interesting how it always ties back into the conversation. This quote is by George Larimer. You've got to get up every morning with determination if you're going to go to bed with satisfaction. So it's all about getting up, doing the job, and at the end of the day, knowing you did your best. Thanks so much for joining me today on VIBEcast, and we'll see you next time.
That's a wrap for this episode of the VIBEcast. We hope you've been inspired and empowered on your entrepreneurial journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on all your favorite platforms to stay connected with the Vibe community.